Hey everyone, it's Jessica here with another layout for 52 weeks of 52 favorites with Miranda Weber. This is a hop with a playlist, so I'll list that down below for you. I'm actually making my own mini album today. I really love the idea of like a mini 52 favorites, but in a travel notebook style. So I'm actually making a 4x6 little mini travel notebook here. I had this little studio calico kit that I got a long time ago, and I love this little grid paper that comes in it. It was actually to make your own album with it, but I am cutting these sheets down to use inside my travel notebook. So I'm using 26 of these. There's 52 weeks in a year, so that's about half of what I need. And I am cutting these down to a 4x6 size when they're folded. So it's it would be 6x8 size when I'm cutting them here. And then I'm just folding them in half and putting them all together. Now, if I had to do this again, which I will have to do it again, I would probably make these into 3 books for the year to make them a little bit smaller, because this turned out to be a little bit too thick. And I know once I add my embellishments into here, it's going to get even thicker. So my recommendation would be to divide this up into 3 books instead of 2 like I'm doing. So trial and error for me here. Learn by what I do wrong and you'll be good to go. So I am going to use this as my cover. This is from the Trail Mix collection by Simple Story. So I'm just cutting this a little bit larger, not so much on the up and down size on this 6 inches, but more so on the side by side, because I know this is going to get a little bit thicker as I go. So it's going to be kind of peeking out if I don't make this a little bit bigger, I think. So I just made it extend off of the page just a little bit. So I think my measurement ended up being like, I think it was like, if I remember right, 8 3/4 or something odd like that, or 8 8.5 or something. But I really just wanted a little bit of a lip on that side on the edges. So you can see I did my machine stitching down the middle. My sewing machine hated this. It kept bunching up on my my bottom bobbin thread, and it was giving me a heck of a hard time. So I actually sewed this like 2 or 3 times and had to keep rethreading it. It's because it's really thick, and I probably need to change my needle, because paper does dull your needle after a while. It's not like sewing fabric where it stays nice and sharp. Paper really tends to dull your needle fast. So I should have changed it before I started, but I didn't. And again, do as I say, not as I do. So my sewing machine hated this. It ended up kind of almost ripping it. It's actually a little bit too tight. So I think if I have to do this again, which I will, I think I would honestly just sew the pages themselves and then bind the cover to it. You see a lot of travel notebooks and the actual binders that hold them, they have kind of 2 holes punched in the binding, and then they run a string through that. And I understand why they do that now, because it's just hard to sew that many pieces of paper, and they just tend to rip and break. So you'll see at the very end of this video, I'm going to actually reinforce my binding with another strip of paper, which I should have shifted over these embellishments that I'm adding to my cover, because then they're kind of not centered. They are centered right now, but when I add my binding, it kind of looks off center. So I might go back and see if I can move those over, but for now, it's going to stay the way that it is. So when I had my vision for this little travel notebook as my 52 favorites album, I just really wanted something a little bit larger than what I'm currently doing, which is my 4x4 mini album and then my memory decks cards. So my 4x4 mini album is obviously a 4x4 size, and I wanted something just with a little bit more room on my pages, just so that I could really get back to doing something I love, which is stamping on my pages. So I'm just going to embellish this cover here. I'm just finishing this part up and adding these little alphabet letters on here. And then I'm going to go and work on my first page in this album. As you can see, I am using a clip here to keep this closed as I'm working on it. And then I will move into the inside here. So here's the first page. This is going to be week 1 of 2025. So super current here. I am still working on finishing up my 2022 and 23 albums, but I figured I would just go ahead and start a new project, right? Because that's what we do. So I just had this idea in my brain. I just had to get it out on paper. That happens with me sometimes, that if I am thinking about something, I'm thinking about it like 24/7 until I actually get it out of my brain and get it into the works. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I've got my favorite photo from week 1, which is actually a picture that's a little inappropriate for video, but I've got a sticky note on here covering up any bumps or anything on here. So this is a photo of my 3 kiddos in the tub. Yes, they get in the tub together. They're still at a pretty young age where they can do that yet and just kind of play and have some fun. So we enjoy tub time around here when it's a little bit before bedtime. So they just have a blast with it, and it's something that we can still do right now, and we enjoy it. And it's just my favorite little photo of them, all 3 of them together, which does not happen often, where all 3 of them together and smiling and all happy, nobody's crying, and they're all having a good time, and they're clean, which also doesn't happen very often with boys. So my boys are always on the farm and just having a blast and playing, but they're so filthy all the time, I feel like. And yeah, you can tell that they have fun and they have a good life because they're just always into something. But I wanted to put this stamp on the top, but it ended up not fitting even after I moved this down. I did put my photo on that cute little tag there, as you can see, which makes it look really cute with that little pop of color. And I did put a scallop edge from the sticker sheet on that trail mix collection on the side of the photo. I love my little scallops, and I love to have them peeking out. So that was a good way to add a little bit of pop of color. And I ended up just stamping this stamp on top by Elle Studio instead of the other one that I wanted to use. The other one was just too big. It would have been perfect, but it was too big and I couldn't make it fit. I've got about a gazillion stamp sets laying on my desk here because I've actually been working in my memory planner as well. And that's just a lot of stamps, and I just kind of drag everything over here and clutter out my entire desk. And I need to do a purge in my room, and I need to clean up this desk. So that's my goal. After this little spread here, I am going to clean this desk up because it is a mess. This little currently is one of my favorite things that I own. It's from Elle Studio as well. It's a stamp and a die set, and I just love that little stamp. I just think it's the most adorable font. I love that it's cursive, and it just goes with anything. And you have these other little word phrases in that stamp set as well that you can put like currently watching or reading or whatever is on that stamp set. I can't remember all the things on it, but it's laying there on my desk. But it's just so cute for little memory planners, travel notebooks, anything like that, and I just love it. I've got the Trail Mix collection stamp here as well. This is the stamp set. I think it's from that collection anyways. It's by Simple Stories. I don't know if it's from that collection specifically. I'm pretty sure it is, but I just stamped the little stars from it because they're just super cute, and I just love the way that they looked on there. It gives it a little bit of star confetti, and then I've added my little twine on top of my tag. I also added some photo corners. As you can see, those are by Thermoweb, or you can get them from Thermoweb, or you can get them from the Cherry on Top shop as well. And I was going to add this big geotag, but it just didn't fit right or look right in there, so I went with this little tiny one instead. And then, let's see, I felt like I still needed a couple of things on here. I wanted to do a little bit more stamping yet, and I want to add a couple of things to the right side of my photo here, so I'm just going to add a couple little embellishments yet. And then some of these little puffy stickers by Elle Studio as well. I love to mix Elle Studio products in with my little 52 favorites album spreads. They just have so many different products that are just nice to mix in. This little star set here is actually by Citrus Twist Kits. That's another good company if you want just little bits and pieces to add to your little travel notebooks. So I just grab kind of anything that I want to use. At some point here, I added a nice black smudge to the top of my page here. I think it's when I was messing with that large geotag, and I had my ink too close, got my hand in it and smudged it right on the top. So guess what? We're putting an embellishment up here. I stamped a little moon up there with some stars because we were getting ready for bedtime. Here is my little strip that I cut. I think it was like less than 2 inches. I just kind of eyeballed it and just made it a little bit thicker than this tape. I know this tape is 1/2 inch, so it's got to be at least an inch. If I had to guess, maybe like 1.5 inches or something. But I just used some easy tear tape because it's very, very strong adhesive. So I know that's going to stick really, really good. And then I just peel off the backing here and attach this to my binding. I just wanted something to strengthen that binding up in case it does rip. It's not going to go anywhere. So if my pages rip, I'll have to use some washi tape or something to tape them back together, but I'm really not concerned about it. I think it'll be just fine. Even if the pages rip, I'll just use some paper clips, tape, something to put it back together. Well, I have all kinds of supplies, right? So I think I'll be okay. But here is the book after this is put on here. I just use my bone folder to make sure it's nice and secure. So this is what it looks like all finished up. That's the cover. And you can see what I mean about that not being centered now with the binding. I might shift it over. I might leave it how it is. And here's what the first week looks like. I love this. I think it's super sweet, and it's definitely a project that I will do again, just in a couple different ways with some modifications. So thank you guys for being here. Hop on the playlist below to see everybody playing along today. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.